further than Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs.
Nothing.
We offer custom laser
they're
engraving
talking.
services for a variety of products, including promotional items and corporate or personal gifts.
Okay.
With state-of-the-art equipment and a team of skilled designers, we can engrave intricate designs on virtually any material. Whether it's a special message, a company logo, or a custom design, Romika Laser Engraving will help you make your mark. And the best part, our prices are affordable and our turnaround time is quick.
I couldn't be happier with the work Romika Laser Engraving did for me. The engraving on my product was precise and exactly what I wanted.
So don't wait any longer to add a personal touch to your products. Call Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs today at 817-400-4040 or visit our website at romikadesigns.com. We look forward to helping you make your mark.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Welcome to Game On NTX with your hosts, Bill Lawhn and John Mitcham. Today's show is brought to you by Ensemble Co-working, Fort Worth hub for private offices, co-working meeting spaces, and virtual mail. Find your perfect workspace at ensemblecoworking.com. We're just gonna hit a few quick hits today before we really dive into the meat of our segment, which is going to be the NBA and NBA draft. John, what do you got for me?
I think we're going to hit on the stars first. Everyone knows about the breaking news last week of Mason Marchment getting traded to the Kraken for a 2025 fourth rounder and a 2026 third rounder.
Had to happen. The Stars are up against it on the salary cap, and you've got to start making some adjustments.
Yeah, and then when you talk about re-signings as well, the Stars actually re-signed Maverick Bork, which I think was the biggest AHL young guy that we could sign. I think he was number one. I'm pretty sure he's part of the reason why they were okay with moving Marchment. We got some younger guys that they want to move in. And then you talk about guys such as Cameron Hughes and then Nils Lundqvist. They re-signed Nils Lundqvist to a Cam Hughes is a two-way contract.
Okay.
But Nils is a one-way contract, which tells me they want to move Dumba or Ibushkin.
Which 100% needs to happen because, like I said, they're up against it in the salary cap. We don't know if Jamie Benn's going to be back. My guess is he will. He's going to have to take a pay cut and probably going to be dropped down a couple of lines. But he's our captain. He wants to be here. He's got a little bit of juice left, but you can't count on him for too much. But he's going to be a great locker room guy. You know that. And you need somebody like that when you're bringing in a new coach, especially if it's, say, Neil Graham. You're definitely going to want a veteran presence in there to help steady things. But yeah, I'm still curious as to who they're going to go with coach. My guess is Neil Graham, but we don't know yet.
That's my gut feeling.
Yeah.
It's going to be Neil Graham. That's who I would put my money on.
Agreed.
But Jim Nill is, in my opinion, he's the best GM in the NHL. If not, he's top 3.
To this point, you have to. The only other guy maybe you could put above him would be. I'm not sure what the GM's name is in Florida, but maybe him because they've got the start of a dynasty going there, and they're bringing just about everybody back.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So, on to basketball. The biggest trade was the KD trade. That was based around Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and then 5 second-round picks.
5 second-round picks.
5 second-round picks.
Which usually that doesn't amount to a whole lot. I mean, you still find some bargains in the second round, but for the most part, that's just maybe you could use just trade bait. Maybe you can package a couple of them, move into the late first round if you really like somebody. But the meat of that was Jalen Green, in which I think with Phoenix he could still be moved because he doesn't really fit because you have Booker. There's your shooting guard and. They need more of a point guard. I think Brooks stays because he fits what they want. They want somebody that can really defend, and Brooks can give you that.
Yeah.
But the KD trade that's a win now move. You know, Houston finished. They had the second best record in the Western Conference last year, but they went into the first round. What killed them against Golden State was they had no go-to scorer.
Correct.
You know who's going to score the ball in Golden State. You don't have a question about that. But they have. They needed somebody to score the basketball when it counts, and KD, while he's fallen off maybe a little bit, the man is still an elite scorer.
He is.
He's still somebody that you can go to, and it's going to be able to get his own shot.
Absolutely. And you follow that up with probably the Drew Holiday trade.
Yeah.
You and I were talking before the show. I think he was a little upset.
Yeah, he's not real happy about having to go to Portland, but I think I would probably be a little disappointed if I had to go from Boston to Portland, Oregon,
Absolutely.
which is, like you said, if it was in the 90s when they were a really good team, then maybe, but
I'd be upset leaving Boston for Portland, even if it looks like they're in a rebuild now. Which, that leads me into the next trade, which is Porzingis.
Yeah, well.
Porzingis got traded, and you and I talked about this the other night. Big surprise, Bill and I talk quite frequently, especially about sports. But Porzingis, the problem with Boston is they're not going to compete next year. It is what it is with the injury to their big guy,
Jason Tatum. Yep.
Jason Tatum, he's done. He's probably going to be out all of next year.
Yep.
They needed to clear cap space because they were literally going to be in cap hell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were prepared to be the most expensive team in NBA history once you factored in all the luxury tax penalties and everything, and it wasn't even going to be close. With Tatum going down, it's basically going to essentially be a gap year.
Yeah.
Porzingis and Holiday were making a lot of money. They got off those, and they're going to be getting under that second apron. But the fact is, they've still been listening to offers for Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
And he's, in my opinion, he was the best player on the team 2 years ago when they played Dallas in the finals.
Yep.
So losing him, I think, would be huge. But I think the return you could get back would have to be massive to move him.
I'm pretty sure that you were the one that sent me the rumored
proposed trade package. Yeah.
Imagine him in San Antonio. Which
I would rather not.
Yeah,
I would rather not.
As a Mavericks fan, that's terrifying.
I would rather not. Because they're in that trade offer that we looked at. They didn't even give up the number 2 pick. They gave up a bunch of future firsts,
10 or 16.
They gave up a bunch of first round picks, future first round picks, and 3 or 4 players, which they're good players, but they're not world beaters.
Right.
You bring in Dylan Harper, who's the projected number 2 pick, and you have a 4-headed monster of De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, Victor Wembanyama, who I don't know if he's human or not, and Jaylen Brown,
half alien, half human,
and Jaylen Brown, who's a phenomenal player.
As a diehard Mavs fan, and I have been my entire life, I hate everything about San Antonio. But it pains me to say this: they're going to be good.
Oh yeah,
they're going to be good for a long time.
on a positive note, on a positive note, the Mavs. I might actually start watching the Mavericks again. I had to. It wounded me deeply. I was angry with the team after the Luka Doncic trade because you traded a 25-year-old star in his prime.
Wait. International superstar.
International superstar. My bad. But you gave up. You got him. You got Anthony Davis back, who super talented player. When he's on the floor, he's still one. In my opinion, he's still one of the top 10 players in the league.
What's his nickname again?
He has 2 nicknames. One of them is Data Davis, and the other one is Street Clothes.
Correct.
Because that's where he is a lot, because he's on the bench wearing street clothes because he's injured. And you saw that last year. Once he got to Dallas, he played very little with them. But like I said, if he is healthy, he's a talented player. But you got almost no draft capital. You got no other players. It was just, and he's a lot older than Luka, so it wasn't a good trade. I mean, you lost in that deal.
The thing that killed me about the entire trade, was, hey, we want to trade Luka because your best ability is availability.
Yeah.
And they trade him for Anthony Davis. I know that all the big sports media have talked about this, all the big pundits.
Yeah.
I am still confused.
Yeah, 100%.
But and what it boiled down to was Nico didn't like him, which is great because nobody likes Nico.
And now,
nobody likes Nico. But I will tell you this. Happy Cooper Flag Day.
Oh, I'm ecstatic. That's one of the reasons that I may start watching them again, because Cooper Flag, small forward out of Duke, he is the projected number 1 overall pick to Dallas. It may have already happened. It may not have. But the kid is he's incredibly talented. He's been that way since high school. He was the state player of the year in Maine as a freshman. He led Duke to the Final Four last year. They were very close to winning it before they ultimately fell.
He's got a brother that's a pretty good ball player too, right?
I'm not sure about that, but I'm trying to focus on Mr. Flag here. Cooper he's an incredibly talented player. The first time he was on my radar was last year, before when he was scrimmaging against the Olympic team, and he was hanging right with those guys, and all of those guys that were on that team, and even some other guys in the league have all given their seal of approval to this kid, and they think he can play. He's definitely a two-way stud because he defends like crazy. He can play 4 different positions, with various lineups.
Yep.
He's competitive as all hell, and the thing is, you say, hey, you need to improve on this, and his game continues to get better.
Yep.
And he has NBA athleticism.
Yep.
Will he ever be a star in this league? Maybe not. The pro comp that I've heard that I like the best, that I would love if it would be that way, would be Kawhi Leonard.
Oh yeah.
And part of that's it's because of the defensive ability.
Yeah.
Kawhi in his prime was a lockdown defender.
And when Kawhi showed up, I forget what year it was. It was a long time ago now. But when Kawhi showed up out of San Diego State, he was a guy that had super jump out of the court athleticism, played great defense, but he wasn't a great scorer.
Yeah.
I think if we're going to be, if all things are square, the Cooper Flag, the prospect, obviously, he's the number 1 pick.
Oh yeah,
If you look at his attributes compared to Kawhi, he's ahead of Kawhi.
He's way ahead of him. Because he's already a better passer.
Yep.
He's, like I said, he's a better pure scorer because he is a better shooter than Kawhi was coming out.
Yep.
Kawhi, he didn't go early in the first because a lot of people passed him over. San Antonio,
because he didn't have the NBA body yet. He was a lean, athletic kid.
He went into a great situation there in San Antonio. Hall of Fame coach,
Greg Pop. Yep.
Possibly the best coach in the history of the league. Great situation there. He didn't have to go in and be a star. He had guys in front of him that had won championships, that knew what it was about to win in this league.
A couple of good ones.
And so he didn't have to run in and be a star right away. He ended up being star leading that team, but he was kind of under the radar coming into the league.
Yeah.
And at that time, I believe it was still R.C. Buford, who was the Spurs GM, that he clearly had an eye for talent.
Oh, yeah.
He drafted Parker. Tony Parker, I believe, was a late first-round pick.
Yep.
Manu Ginobili was
Argentina.
I believe he was a later first-round pick.
Yep.
And these are guys that were key pieces. They were all-stars. They were key pieces to at least a couple of championship teams. You combine that with Tim Duncan, who's quite possibly the best power forward ever, which that pains me to say because they are the Spurs. But they were all key pieces, and they weren't early first-round picks. There are bargains to be found late. There are, but when you start getting late, you start banking on traits that you see, whether it's shooting or defending or passing or rebounding, whatever it be. When you get a little bit later like that, you start looking at traits.
Sure.
And
sure.
That's if Flag is, if he gets close to what Kawhi Leonard is, I'm going to be, because Kawhi he's all business.
Yeah,
he's all
absolutely.
business, and he just wins. He's had some trouble staying healthy as of late, but that whole Clippers group kind of had with James Harden. It happens when you get older. These guys have been in the league quite a while now.
Sure.
But he is incredibly talented.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
honestly, to me, the West is the league is wide open except for Oklahoma City, because you've had the injury to Jason Tatum.
Yep.
And so the Celtics they're going to be down because they've traded a couple of their big guys to shed that salary. If they trade Jaylen Brown, it's going to be a complete
It's a rebuild.
pivot,
Yep.
complete rebuild. Indiana, who just was also in the finals, they just lost Tyrese Halliburton. He most certainly will be out for the entire year because he got hurt in Game 7 of the finals. That's going to cost them. The Eastern Conference is completely wide open.
Yep.
But the West, to me, you have several good teams. San Antonio is clearly head and shoulders above everyone else right now.
Yeah.
They've got three really talented. They've got your MVP scoring leader, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You've got two really, really talented players aside from that in Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren. They are as deep as any team in the league, and that's that you can attribute that to Sam Presti, who
Definitely knows what he's doing.
If he was calling me about a trade, I would probably hang up the phone or just let it ring,
because he's going to take advantage.
because
of
you're most likely going to be taken advantage of.
Yep.
But I mean, he's built two really, really powerhouse teams, and this year he finally won the championship.
Yep.
And they're not going to be slowing down because they're still a young team.
Yep.
So, but they have a pick in middle first round. They still have several picks. One of them's mid first round, and from what I understand, they're actually trying to trade back into the top 10, which
That is un-American.
and unless you're a Thunder fan, nobody wants to see that.
Right.
But they have everything going. But my opinion, my feeling is the Mavericks, they're going to have to find somebody to fill in that point guard role until Kyrie comes back, and then somebody that's going to be okay sliding back to a secondary role. From what I'm hearing right now, they're really hot on D'Angelo Russell.
Okay.
Good player. He's getting a little older now, but he is a good player.
He's been traded around a couple
He
times.
has. He can. Part of it, I think, was maybe attitude problems or other things. I'm not sure.
Younger, yeah.
But I think he would be a competent replacement. You really don't need a ton of scoring out of that position to start out with. You need, because you're going to have offense. You're going to have offensive weapons. You're going to have Cooper Flag. You're going to have Anthony Davis. Klay Thompson can still really shoot the basketball. Now, I think maybe Najee Marshall will take some of those playmaking roles. Cooper Flag is even capable of playing some of that point forward like the Bulls used to do with Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
You can initiate you need somebody to trigger the offense that's going to make decent decisions.
Absolutely.
And hopefully play good defense, which I don't know if that's ever been a strong suit of Russell's, but of the point guards they were talking about, to me he's probably the most appealing. I like Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah.
He's kind of meh.
He doesn't really move the needle for me. And you and I talked about this, right? The first name that we talked about in regards to trade and possible replacement until Kyrie comes back is Colin Sexton.
Yeah, which that's a pipe dream. I think I would love to see that, but I don't know what that would look like trying to get him.
I think we have to give up too much. It's a balance there because you've got to do just enough to stay afloat until Kyrie comes back, which probably isn't going to be this year.
It'll be this season.
Yeah,
it'll be this season, but it'll probably
season.
be January. December, January.
They'll be shaping out to say, "Hey, are we going to make the playoffs or not?" Which I think we will.
You've got to ease it. You're not going to be able to. He's not going to be able to go full bore when he comes back. You're going to have to ease him in. Maybe he's ready to go by playoff time.
And I think part of the reason that he got injured, and that kind of goes back into what I was going to talk about earlier. You and I talked about this. The whole reason that Nico said that he wanted to trade Luka and get better and play defense was so that we could defeat the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about the Boston Celtics being in a full rebuild. Luka's not here. Hindsight's always 20/20. But when you compound that with the fact that everyone is unanimously upset at Nico, and then he lucks it. Let's call it what it is. He lucked into the number one overall pick.
The thing that I'm not super happy about it. But there's going to be a lot of perception. We're like, oh, look, he got this right. No, he got very lucky.
Oh, yeah.
He got incredibly lucky.
Oh, yeah, and he knows it.
But there's still going to be people like, oh, okay, this is okay now because we got the number 1 pick.
Yep.
He had nothing to do with that. He gave up. If Mavs fans, if you're still angry with him, I don't blame you in the least because he earned a lot of praise, a couple of seasons ago when he acquired Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington because they helped us get to the finals.
Correct.
And they're both still key pieces of this team. But then he goes and does that with the Luka trade.
Yeah.
Honestly, do I think that the draft lottery was fixed? It's very possible because you risk Luka because ticket sales were down. The building was starting to get empty, and that's the 4th largest media market in the country. You don't want to lose a team there. And the NBA has been accused of fixing the ping pong balls before.
The folded envelope.
the frozen envelope. But honestly, I do think it wouldn't surprise me if they had something to do with it. They won't ever admit it.
No.
However it happened, you have Cooper. You have the opportunity to draft Cooper Flagg now.
Yep.
I think this was basically the NBA was giving you a do-over. You're not going to get what you got from Luka.
Yeah.
The thing that you're going to get that you didn't get from Luka is somebody that plays defense, that plays hard on defense all the time.
So I'm getting the live draft updates. Obviously, Cooper Flagg goes number 1 to our beloved Dallas Mavericks.
That makes me so happy.
And then number 2 is Mr. Dylan Harper. He goes to Rutgers, and his comp, according to Bleacher Report, is Mr. Cade Cunningham.
Well, it's Cade Cunningham's a very talented player. Did he go to the Spurs? Did the Spurs pick him? No. Oh,
not even close.
There was a trade. Who was it? Who picked him, John? Tell me who picked him.
For Cade Cunningham?
No, for Dylan Harper. Who picked Dylan Harper? Was it San Antonio?
It was San Antonio.
Okay, that's where I was.
It was. I'm sorry. It was San Antonio. I'm trying to read and talk at the same time, which I cannot chew bubblegum and walk, so I'm going to put that down.
That's good call. The big thing as far as the top of the draft, or besides Cooper Flagg, is up towards the top of the draft, and that was Ace Bailey, who was a projected top three pick.
Yep.
Dylan Harper's teammate at Rutgers.
Mm-hmm.
He did not schedule any workouts with any teams. He had one schedule with Philadelphia, who has who most likely has the 3 pick.
Yep.
And he had a workout scheduled with them, and he just canceled it.
Yeah.
He didn't take any visits. He didn't go do anything. His people are the people that are in charge of guiding this young man where he needs to go. Basically, they feel like, okay, we already have some assurances, like this is where we're going to go. We don't really need to go work out. And
I hate that. I hate that in a player.
I do too. And he's already been called out by at least one NBA superstar, and Paul George, who plays for Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And he said, "Hey, you haven't really earned the right to do this yet because you're not even in the league."
Yeah.
But this kind of goes back to it's not like the Eli Manning or the John Elway where you're demanding you're not going to sign with this team. You're going to if they draft you.
Yeah.
But he's basically saying, showing you that he doesn't want to be on your team if you don't.
Sure.
He doesn't want to be there. So
Well,
I don't think he's going to fall very far. But it's just the whole that's been the big news, is the fact that he's just completely disregarded.
Yeah.
The league, the teams that are interested.
Well, I think coming up after the break, I think we're going to dive into the draft.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to hit on the College World Series.
Give me what you got.
All right. So the College World Series, man, we were predicting this to be a shootout.
Yeah.
Right. We were predicting it to go to all 3 games.
Well,
What
had happened?
The first game, Cade Anderson, who is he's projected to be the top arm taken in the MLB draft.
Incredibly talented kid.
He is
yes.
super good. I'm going to read off what his stats were. All right, and against probably the hottest team in college baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Right, Coastal Carolina was on a 26-game win streak
going into that series.
They've lost since April.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So they go through the regionals, the super regionals, the College World Series. They don't lose a game until they get to the College World Series.
Yes, sir.
Playing probably, I would say, the best coached team in college baseball with probably the best talent overall.
Yeah.
Jay Johnson
he's a phenomenal coach.
He is a phenomenal coach.
He's their second title in 3 years.
Yeah, yeah, and he, the first title that he won, 3 years ago was when they defeated Florida and our beloved Wyatt Langford.
Well, yeah.
But anyways, so he pitched a complete game, right? He
Yeah.
pitched all 9 innings,
Wow.
10 Ks, 5 base on balls. He had somewhere around 120 pitches.
A little bit too high on the walks, but the fact is he I didn't see the game.
Yeah.
My guess is he had the 10 strikeouts. My guess is he's probably got a lot of weak contact as well.
Yeah. A lot. They won that game 1-0.
Yeah.
So it was a true pitcher's duel.
Oh yeah.
The kid on the other side for Coastal Carolina, he pitched great. I didn't write down any of his numbers because the most incredible thing that I've ever seen happen happened the next day.
Yeah.
Okay, so picture this, if you will, right? You're playing LSU for the College World Series.
Yeah.
Right? You're in the bottom of the second inning. You got 2 outs. You got a runner on first.
Yeah.
Okay. The kid on first steals second, right? The catcher takes the pitch and then throws it to second. It's not even really close. He slides in. Well, the ball was about a foot inside, right? So it was a ball. The umpire calls it a strike, right? So this whole thing starts with Coach Kevin Schnall arguing with the umpire, and the umpire gets all upset because, as we all know, Major League umpires are incredibly fragile human beings, and so are college umpires.
Yeah.
All right, that's just my opinion.
Oh yeah.
But the guy that did this, he was a former Major League umpire, and he got the boot. So now he's umpiring in college. Anyways, long story short, he ends up booting Kevin Schnall.
Yeah.
And he ends up booting the first base coach.
Wow. Same
And
time.
if anyone has ever played sports, they will tell you that the manager and the first base coach are detrimental, important to your team, especially a coach of Jay Johnson's caliber, right? This is not like Little League. You're in the College World Series.
You lose Kevin Schnall and his first base coach, and that's gonna hurt.
In the first inning, you get tossed in a deciding World Series game.
Definitely.
So hats off to LSU. They ended up winning the game.
Yeah.
Their pitcher, Anthony Jansen, pitched 6 and a third innings, 9 Ks, 1 base on ball. So
wow, that's
he
good.
Pitched well.
Good start.
And LSU Nation is happy. They should be.
Tiger Nation.
They won it. Go Tigers, GEAUX.
As Ed Orgeron would say, go Tigers.
Go Tigers. But they did the damn thing. They did. Now I will say they kind of got it handed to them a little bit because the manager getting tossed and the first base coach getting tossed. Yeah, it is what it is.
They didn't need the help. They may or may not have won the game. You can't really say that for sure, but they didn't really need the LSU didn't need the help. They're too talented.
I will add that.
Have you ever met a single person in
Let's
your
pick that
life
up when we
that
come back.
enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now to learn more.
800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. That's 800-240-4587.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
All right. Welcome back to Game on NTX with Bill Lawhn and John Mitcham. Once again, I really would like to thank our sponsor, Ensemble Co-working. They are the hub for private offices, co-working, meeting space, and virtual mail. Find your perfect workspace at ensemblecoworking.com.
All right. Well, let's talk NBA Finals.
Let's do it.
You watched this pretty closely.
I did.
What you got?
Well, it was Indiana earned a lot of people's respect. Nobody expected them to be there going into that series. They were one of the largest underdogs in finals history. They forced it all the way to a seventh game. They even had the lead at halftime, but late in the first quarter, they lost their engine. I don't know if you want to call him their best player because Indiana doesn't really have a star.
Yeah.
Most recognizable guy is Tyrese Halliburton, though. He had missed a little bit of time with a calf strain. He played through it. Going into this game, late first quarter, he tears his Achilles. He's going to miss the entire season next year. And while they did finish the half strong and had a lead, they kind of came out flat in the second half. And Oklahoma City they smelled blood and they came out and they closed the deal.
Yeah.
Like great teams do.
Yep.
And but Indiana earned a lot of respect. I was pulling a little bit for the Pacers because Rick Carlisle, former Mavericks coach, he won the only title in franchise history here.
Gotta love him.
And I do like Rick Carlisle a lot, but they earned a lot of people's respect. They could have been back next year. Like we talked about with the Jason Tatum injury, that opens things up for a lot of teams. Sure. But then losing Halliburton, that's going to set them back.
Yep.
And that's why I said the East is completely wide open.
Sure.
Giannis is going to be going back to Milwaukee. Yeah. If Damian Lillard is healthy, that's a dangerous team. Brooklyn's got a lot of cap space, but they're kind of in full rebuild. They do have an incredible 5 first-round draft picks with all the trades that they made. But
absolutely,
the Knicks were right there in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's wide open with them. They're a good ball club. Still, the big thing is going to be you got to get past Oklahoma City because, like I said, they have SGA, who's the MVP in the league in the finals. You have 2 other outstanding young players in Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams. Yeah. You have the deepest roster in the league. You still have a trove of draft picks.
Yeah,
thanks to
roster getting deeper.
Thanks to all this. Thanks to all the moves and things that have been made, the shrewd moves that have been made by Sam Presti, who is, in my opinion, the best GM in basketball and one of the best GMs in sports.
Sure.
The man knows what he's doing. And like I said, if he was calling, I don't think I would answer the phone because you're most likely you're gonna wind up feeling it because it's not going to turn out in your favor.
You're going to lose your ass if he's trading with
100%. That's a pretty good bet.
Yeah.
But like I said, honestly, I think with the Mavs, they find somebody to fill in for Kyrie Irving. Doesn't have to be a star. Just come in and play defense and distribute the basketball to all the scorers. You have some really good scorers there. Anthony Davis is a proven player. Cooper Flagg, I believe, is going to be a good player for them. Klay Thompson's not what he was clearly, especially defensively, but he's still a great shooter.
Yep.
You're gonna have Derek Lively, who he's continuing for a big man. It's impressive. He's continuing to work on that 3-point shot.
Sure.
You're gonna get him the ball off of lobs and stuff, and at pick and rolls, he's gonna be an outstanding player.
The thing I like about Lively, he oozes athleticism.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And he's your typical Duke player, right? Super athletic, can jump out of the gym. He develops that shot, and he can stay healthy. I mean, the sky's the limit. Now, the one thing we didn't touch on, since we're talking Dallas Mavs, we didn't talk about the Daniel Gafford extension.
I love the extension. You look at Daniel Gafford's, his stats per he's a bench guy. He's the backup center.
Sure.
But you look at his per 48 minutes. What his stats over 48 minutes? If he would say, looks like he would play a full game. He was averaging a double-double. It's basically 17 and 10 and 2 blocks a game, which would be one of the top marks in the league. And you got him for $18 million.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. That's a steal. The contract, if you did want to include him in some kind of trade, It's very doable, but especially with somebody that has numbers like that. There's going to be teams that would say, "Hey, yeah, absolutely."
There are a lot of people that would kill for that guy.
Absolutely.
And, I just got the update too. This just to change gears a little bit.
Yeah.
Mr. Jacob DeGrom, he is dominating, and we don't talk about what he's doing out loud.
Oh, it's incredible. He became was it the first pitcher since 1900? He had 12 straight starts of 6 innings.
Yep.
Of going at least 6 innings, 2 runs or fewer.
Yeah.
He's not the huge strikeout guy that he was.
But what I'm saying is, what he's doing right now, we're not allowed to talk about.
Okay, we don't want to jinx the. It's
correct.
I believe you. I believe you're talking about it because for those that don't know, we have a bit of an extensive injury history with him. He missed all of 23, all of that the World Series run in 23 because he was injured. But honestly, I don't think you get a lot of the players. I don't think you get a lot of the players. I don't think you get a lot of those players to come here if DeGrom hadn't signed here first.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
But as John just showed me, Jacob DeGrom has a no-hitter through 7 innings. That's yeah, I don't know what to do with that. I don't know if I would push him the full 9 innings. This might be try to be a combined no-hitter.
You know what? He's too valuable to the team. I wouldn't do it.
Well,
but I figured I would bring that up.
Oh man,
because as a Rangers fan, the 2023, after the heartbreak of 2010, 2011,
oh yeah,
we deserved it.
Euphoria.
I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah.
Houston fans, shut it. I don't care. We deserved it. I don't care. We beat you fair and square, and we went on and won the World Series.
We didn't have to cheat to win.
We didn't have trash cans.
Yeah, we didn't have trash cans.
None of that
buzzers.
stuff.
Yeah,
but back to the Mavericks. I wanted to show you that he was throwing the no-no, and
yeah, I'm glad you did.
That's important. But I know that the Gafford extension, it was a no-brainer. Bill.
My opinion,
there are talks about we need to go now the early rumors, and we talked about this earlier in the show. The early rumors were maybe trade somebody and try and go get Colin Sexton. I think that's going to be a little too steep.
That's a pipe dream. And with Russell, he was the best of a group that included Dennis Schroeder, he's not a bad player, but he doesn't really move the needle for me.
Yeah.
Chris Paul, who is 46, he's a good locker room guy, good leader, but in my opinion, he doesn't really have anything left in the tank.
Yeah.
And that's not something you want because you're going to need somebody that will at least try and play defense. And even if Paul gives an effort there, it's not going to be much because he's almost 46.
But you compound that with the fact that Kyrie, he opted out of his $43 million option to sign that extension that gives us, I think I saw it was about $7 million more in cap space.
We actually can use our mid-level exception now, where we were going to be up against it if he opted in. This gives him a little longer term security. Maybe the contract's not good in a year or two, but he means a lot to this team, and I have to tell you, there's somebody that completely flipped my opinion of him because we didn't see him on a regular basis. He had the comments about kind of the anti-Semitic comments that were granted they were not good.
Yeah,
he's a flat earther, so a lot of people maybe he's a little weird guy. But seeing him on when they got him in here, seeing him on a day-to-day basis, I have been so impressed with that young man. He's a good teammate. I believe he's a good leader. And he from what I understand, he loves the city of Dallas because the city of Dallas welcomed him with open arms. And now with excuse me, you traded for him a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. You drafted Lively. Mm-hmm. Year before last, and now you're adding Cooper Flagg. So we're turning this into the Blue Devils of the Southwest here,
which you're okay with.
Which that doesn't hurt my feelings in the least because that is probably my favorite college basketball team.
Yeah.
But they're all honestly. I think to me, if D'Angelo Russell comes in, if they do indeed sign D'Angelo Russell to be the point guard,
you think that would be the mid-level exception guy?
I think that probably would be. I don't know if you'd give him any more, but probably if he comes in and he's a competent player for them, distributes the ball, scores a little, makes an effort on defense.
Yep.
I believe the Mavericks could really be a dark horse, especially when Kyrie comes back. we've already got an excellent bench, because you look at guys like Najee Marshall, P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford, Jaden Hardy he can be a spark off the bench. And if you slide D'Angelo Russell back into the bench when Kyrie comes back, I mean, you got 9 or 10 deep guys that can all play.
Yeah,
providing health with Irving and Lively and, of course, Data Davis. But they are a deep team. The only team in my opinion that would be deeper would be the Thunder. But I don't know if you realize this or not. Even a depleted Mavericks team last year, the Thunder couldn't seem to beat.
Yeah, that's true.
And
that's absolutely true.
Yeah, that's what blows me away. And now you come back fully loaded. You come back fully loaded at them. I think honestly, it would be a tall task, and I'm not saying the Mavericks would beat them in a 7-game series.
Sure.
But I think it would be a very entertaining series.
Absolutely. Let's talk NBA draft.
Oh, yes.
So that's going on right now. I know you and I did our own little mock. I don't know if you want to hear who's gone first, or if you want if you want to say predict, or how do you want to do this?
What pick are we on?
So the third pick just got selected.
I'm gonna in my little mock that I had here. It was VJ Edgecombe, the shooting guard out of Baylor, elite athleticism, very talented player. Was it in fact VJ Edgecombe?
The third overall pick was in fact VJ Edgecombe.
At one point, a lot of people thought it was Ace Bailey. Yeah. The young man, like I said, he basically completely disregarded the draft process. My guess is he had some assurances from other teams that they were definitely going to draft him. The only visit he had scheduled, the visit that he had scheduled was Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And he called them and canceled that at the last minute. So he actually took no visits, worked out for no team specifically.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think both of us have predicted him to fall down to probably 6 to the Wizards.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to get it to load and it doesn't want to. So
Technical difficulties.
So as of right now, we are on pick 5.
So,
oh my goodness!
Tell me, because I think where we really differed was pick 4. I had Con Kneppel, the forward, the small forward from Duke, going 4 to Charlotte.
Yep, you nailed it.
Oh, excellent. See, the thing with him, and they took a big swing on their draft pick last year with the upside. I think with Con Kneppel, I don't know if he's ever going to be a star, and in fact, I don't think he will be. But his floor is very high.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's going to come in. He's going to come in. He's going to shoot well. He's going to play hard. He's got a really high basketball IQ. Like, shocking somebody coming from Duke has a high basketball IQ.
Yep.
The only questions that I have with him would be his athleticism.
Sure. Yeah.
Is he going to be able to compete athletically in this league? Is he going to be able to stay in front of other 2 guards or small forwards that, as you well know, these are the best of the best athletes in the world?
Absolutely. And who did you have the Jazz taking?
I had them going with the Jeremiah Fears, the point guard out of the University of Oklahoma.
You finally missed one.
Oh, man.
So Ace Bailey goes number 5 to the Utah Jazz.
Wow, I have to I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
I really didn't see that coming.
I had Con Kneppel going to Utah, and I missed that one.
Yeah.
For the sake of the argument as well, I also had Trey Johnson going to Philadelphia, so I'd swing and a miss there.
That might have been a little bit of homerism, considering Mr. Trey Johnson.
Easy.
Mr. Trey Johnson, he's a very talented young man, and he will be a top 10 pick.
He is.
But he is also from the University of Texas, who I don't think John and I have made any secret about that. We both love dearly.
Yes, I'm a big University of Texas fan.
So Ace Bailey 5 to Utah. That's one that really surprises me. I heard nothing about him. I figured I had him. I think you had him. We both had him going to 6.
Yep.
To the Wizards, but 5. I mean, kid's super talented, man, and he offers a lot of upside.
There are some people out there that were talking about potentially the Mavs trading back into the first round to get somebody. I know some of the trades that we talked about earlier in the show. The Porzingis trade, that's going to kind of alter what. And also you compound that with the fact that they extended Daniel Gafford.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of the issues with the Mavericks are injury history with Derek Lively. He can't seem to stay healthy, but when he is healthy, he's fantastic. That's the frustrating part about the NBA. And tall guys, they have knee issues and foot issues, especially when you're talking about playing 82 games a year.
That's usually how that works out.
It normally works out that way. Now, my question to you, Bill, if you are, I would never insult you and say you're Nico Harrison.
No, don't do that. Yeah,
but let's say you're the GM of the Dallas Basketball Mavericks.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And you're going to trade back into the first round. I don't know what it's going to take. Right. We trade future picks, and I know that we don't have a lot of them, but we trade back into the first round. Okay.
Yeah.
Who would you take, and where do you see them going?
There's a group of players. There's a group of players that I really like. The first of which is probably coming off.
So before we do that too, let me preface this with this. What is our biggest outstanding need?
You got to have a point guard. In my opinion, you got to have a point guard.
We're in agreement.
And
there.
even if you do maybe sign D'Angelo Russell, which I think that's a very real possibility. And these guys, this may be a pipe dream because some of these guys, they're you would really have to move up high, and you're going to have to give up more to get there.
Absolutely.
There's a kid named Igor Krimin. He's from BYU. He's a young man from Russia. He's 6'8", 200 pounds, but he plays point guard. Okay. And his pro comparison would be Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey he's a starter for the Bulls right now, but in my opinion, he is best suited as an excellent role player. And you need what you need right now from your point guard coming in. Besides, maybe you don't really need him to score because you have so many weapons. You need him somebody that's going to come in and distribute the basketball. And this kid is very good at that.
Yeah,
he's not an elite scorer, but he's going to be somebody that's going to set the guys up. You know, he's going to get the open guys the basketball, which is exactly what, in my opinion, what you want from a point guard. If he scores at all, that's pass the ball, set your teammates up, play defense. If he scores at all, whatever you get from him is it's just icing on the cake.
Sure.
There's Walter Clayton, who's fresh off leading the University of Florida to a national championship.
Yep.
He's a combo guard, point guard, shooting guard. He's not a great big guy. He's set an all-time scoring record at Florida, like I said, and led them to a national championship.
They've had a few good ones there too.
They have. They've had some good ones. I get vibes from him if you're looking at the kind of player that I think he really could be. It's a Jalen Brunson type guy.
That's exactly who I have as my comp.
He's not a great big guy, but all he does is he's a basketball player.
He wins.
He's a winner. He's a basketball player.
Yep.
And Jalen Brunson, the Mavericks kind of mishandled that whole situation with him at the end.
Yeah.
He could have been there. Of course, if he had been there, then you might not have. I mean, you might not have Derek Lively because you probably would have had a better record. And,
sure.
But you let Brunson go, and he signs with the Knicks, and now he's been All-NBA a couple of times. But that's the vibe that I get from Walter Clayton. I think he's a very talented kid, and he brings a winning pedigree.
Can I give you a guy that I like a lot?
Sure. Let me hear it.
So I have three guys, and you've already mentioned one of them.
Yeah.
Right. If I had to power rank, we're trading back in, and let's say best case scenario, we get to, and I don't know where he falls, right?
Yeah.
But if we trade back in and it's the last pick in the first round and we trade back up and we take this kid, he's still there. There's a kid that I like. Now, there's a couple kids, but my number one, if I could take this kid, would be Nick Clifford from Colorado State.
I love him too. He's a combo guard. He's not combo guard. He's a wing guy, shooting guard, small forward. I'm a huge fan of Nick Clifford, but honestly, I think you would have to trade back up mid first round. I mean, the range I've seen in the mock drafts for Kremen, he's the highest that I had at 18. I didn't include Nick Clifford as much as I love the player, because I think he's going to be, he could go anywhere from, the end of the lottery to 16. And I don't think the Mavericks are going to want to give up that much. I think you're looking back at the earliest, the earliest I think they would probably try to trade into would be the mid 20s, mid to late 20s.
So, and another guy that I brought up, and I think he would be a guy that would not go in the first round, because he's older.
Yeah.
And we talked about him. I talked with you about him a little bit.
Yeah.
He's a 22-year-old point guard out of Kentucky. His name is Kobe Bray.
Okay.
Bria.
Okay.
However you want to pronounce it.
Okay.
But he's a 44% three-point shooter.
Whew.
And he's 6'6".
Mm-hmm.
So he's that bigger guy that
he's a point guard.
He's a true point guard.
Wow, that's Yeah.
So he is a guy that fits the bill. That's who we need. And with him being 22, I don't think anybody's going to take him in the first round, right? Most of the time, unless you're, there are outliers. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to be one of those guys that goes at the very, very top of the first round. I think he's a second round kid. And then you and I talked also about. I think I touched on it in last week's show. Maxime Renaud, the forward out of Stanford, and that's one of the guys when we started talking about the draft. With Boston trading Porzingis, and his draft slot is right around where Boston's going to be picking, I think he's a perfect replacement and much cheaper replacement than Porzingis.
Oh, absolutely, probably much healthier too.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say about I would like to have him on the Mavericks, but I think especially if they keep Gafford, which I think that's very likely because they didn't sign him to trade him, even though the contract is very tradable.
Yep.
They like Gafford a lot.
Yep.
And as much as I would like to have Renaud on this team, I think that's going to be. I don't think that's going to happen because they have the glut of bigs already. And but he is a super talented player.
I think I fell in love with the kid when it was looking like, Gafford was going to go, and I'm like, this is a young guy, And if we're having injury issues is expected out of the two bigs that we have, he would get a lot of playing time.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a kid that would basically grow up.
Yeah.
Right. And he's an older kid too, though, right? I think he's 22 as well. Yeah. He's a French guy, but he's super smart because he played at Stanford.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah.
And
well, you have to be smart to go to that school.
Exactly.
I think for Boston, if Boston does draft him, I don't think that's a terrible situation because I think, like I said, there's no pressure.
Yep.
There's no pressure going in there. Boston fans are notoriously tough, yes.
Yep.
But with Tatum, I think they probably understand, hey, this is what we're trying to do. We're going to take a little bit of a step back here. We still have, if you keep Jaylen Brown, then he's going to be the focal point of the team. Renaud would be somebody that could come in. Not necessarily, I'm not going to say learn.
Right.
I'm not going to say
grow.
He can grow. He doesn't. There's not a lot of pressure on him. He can come in and he can be a contributor right away. And by the end of the season, I think you could have a very positive asset.
Yeah, and let's face it, right? Boston has a lot of their draft picks as well. If Boston, like we think, is going to just ass it up, they're probably going to have a lottery pick next year.
Very possible.
It's very possible. Losing everybody that they have, it's probably going to happen. Yeah. Now, if Dallas trades back into the first, again, I don't know what that's going to take. I am agreeing with you that we need a point guard in a bad way. And if we do draft a young point guard,
there's a couple other that I have an eye on that I think could come in and help.
Yeah.
One of them is Nolan Traore. He's a point guard out of the French league. I think he's a really talented kid. I think
he's a late riser, right?
He is. Well, he fell. He was initially going into the draft. His teammate was the one that rose.
That's right. That was the guy that they were talking about. Dallas would be interested in taking.
Yeah.
If they didn't, because we were projected to be around 10 somewhere.
Yeah.
You're right.
He's a very talented kid, small forward, but it's Nolan Traore. He's a point guard, out of the French league. Super talented kid. He's still young, and I don't. If you could get D'Angelo Russell, if there's a way to get Traore without having to give up anything. Honestly, I would love for one of these guys to come back in, but if you can sign somebody like Russell, you'd like to have a veteran point guard because Kyrie won't be around, a young point guard because Kyrie won't be around forever. But if you could sign somebody like Russell, honestly, I don't know that I would give up any other assets to get one of these other guys. The only other kid that I really like is a young man named Ben Saraf. Yeah. He plays in the German league. He's a point guard. And I believe it's another very, very talented guy that could help this team. But I don't know. I think in fact, I know for a fact that you're in kind of a win now mode.
Yeah.
Because of Anthony Davis's age, because of Kyrie's age, because of both of their injury history. They're both going to basically be on 2 to 3 year contracts.
And the lack of draft picks.
Yeah, and you don't have a ton of draft picks. So I think I don't want to trade because your most likely trade chip would be somebody like P.J. Washington who. Excuse me. I don't want to give up P.J. Washington because he's too versatile a defender. He can guard 4 to 5 positions.
Yeah.
And do it at a high level. He's to me as a role player, he's
nails, man.
He's a 9 or a 10 as a role player.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could start some games for you, and he's going to have the occasional huge game.
Yeah.
Especially if he's hot from 3. But like I said, I like those young men, those point guards. If one of them happened to maybe fall into the second round and you could just give up a future pick, I would definitely do that.
Yeah,
but I don't know that I want to give up any
I don't
anything
off
of this team. I
capital.
don't want to give off of this team. I don't want to give up a lot of draft capital for the future.
Sure.
When the team we have is built to win now. Yes, you're going to be bringing Cooper Flagg, but he comes into it. Most number 1 picks, they go to a team that's terrible, and they have to be. People look at him; they want to be the man right away.
Yeah.
Cooper Flagg comes into an amazing situation with veterans like Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I mean the off court guidance that he's going to get from guys like Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, that's invaluable.
Yeah,
like just being in the same locker room as guys that have won NBA championships and been in the league for a decade plus.
Absolutely,
that's going to be huge for his development.
Yeah, don't forget Klay Thompson. Another great locker room guy, multiple championships. He just gets to come in, learn the league, fit in. You know the kid's going to compete at a high level because he's got a lot of that dog in him. And like I said, watching him compete against the Olympic guys in those scrimmages, I was like, man, this kid it's impressive. And hearing the fact that these guys that he was playing against, these guys are the Olympians. They're the best of the best in this league.
Yeah.
And they were given their seal of approval to this kid. They were all deeply impressed. I mean, like, I tend to believe that this kid is going to be an asset, but I love the fact that he doesn't have to come in and be the man right away. Yeah. He doesn't have the pressure on him. He'll probably put some pressure on himself because I believe he wants to be great.
Yeah, he wants to live up to the expectations. Yeah, but, absolutely.
You know, he comes from a small area in Maine. They're going to have a Cooper Flag Day, not just a flag day, but a Cooper Flag Day, which I love. That small town kid is going to blow up.
Yeah.
John, I've really enjoyed it today.
Yes, sir.
Once again, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Ensemble Co-working, Fort Worth's hub for private offices, co-working, meeting space, and virtual mail. Find your perfect your perfect workspace at ensemblecoworking.com.
Gave up my all that I could take. I just knew it had to be. So I hit the road to sing my song.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community